It's Mary Beth Fights from My Fearless Kitchen, and today we're going to be talking about how to freeze sweet corn. A couple weeks ago, we looked at a whole bunch of different ways to cut corn off the cob. So today I'm taking some of that beautiful corn that I just cut off the cob, and we're going to talk about how to freeze it. A super easy way. You will never go back to freezing corn a different way ever again. So let's get started. So I just cut the kernels off 6 ears of corn. I'm going to use ziploc freezer bags to store them in. This is quart. These are a quart size freezer bag, and I do use the Ziploc brand when I'm freezing. I have tried other brands. I have tried off-label brands, and I have not been happy with them in the freezer. They don't seal as well, and they tend to leak at the corners and along the seams. So I stick with the Ziploc brand. You do want to label at least with the month and the year and what is in there. So each bag is going to get 2 cups of sweet corn. We'll do that in just a second. First, we're going to prep the brine that we're going to put the corn in. So in here, I've got 3 cups of water. I heated it up a little bit already. So to that 3 cups of water, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar and 1 tablespoon of salt. I use kosher salt. That's just my preference. You can use regular table salt if you want. We'll give that a little stir. And you don't need to heat this to a boil. You really just need to heat it until the salt and sugar are dissolved. So we're going to let that go for a minute. And while that is heating up and getting dissolved, we'll put the corn in bags. So I just have a regular 1 cup measuring cup. And we're just going to, it doesn't get any easier than this, guys. This is raw corn straight off the cob. Not cooked, not heated, not blanched, not anything. Just cut off the corn into the bowl and into the bags. That's it. So we're not dealing with having to cut the corn off a hot cob. We're not dealing with having to boil the kernels and then scoop them out of boiling water. None of that. So this was 6 cobs. I've got not quite, or about a cup left here. So I'm actually going to make each of these just a little bit more than 2 cups instead of doing a third that's just half. All right, so we got that done. That's nice and empty. So we'll just bring our whole tray back over by the stove. And this is ready. So it is simmering, but all the salt and sugar is dissolved, and that's all that we're after here. So now we've got our nice salt and sugar brine, and I'm just going to take a half cup of the brine and put it in a bag with 2 cups of corn. So since I've got a little bit more than 2 cups in here, I'll do a little more than a half cup of the brine. But I just use a regular measuring cup. Scoop it on out of there. We're not looking for exact, so you don't need to worry about that. We've got some helpers in the kitchen today. All right, so you can see we've got some liquid in there with the corn. Liquid's coming up about that much, and the corn's about here. That's beautiful. 3 cups of water, that's enough to do between somewhere around 10 cups of corn. So if you've got more than that, then you'll just need to double or triple your recipe, however much you've got. I don't really do less than that. It's just too hard to split my sugar and my salt measurements and then scoop it out of the hot saucepan. So seal it and get as much of the air out as you can. And then lay it out flat. Always do this on some kind of a tray, and you'll see if there's any leaks in your bags. Most common, you'll have a leak from it not being sealed properly. I did have one batch of bags one time that one of the corners on every single bag in the box leaked, and that just drove me nuts. But I've only had that happen once. So there you go. These are ready to go in the freezer. I'm going to put them in the freezer just like this, flat on this tray, so they'll freeze nice and flat. And then once they're frozen, you can stack them however you need to in your freezer. You can stack them one on top of the other like this, or when they're frozen, you can kind of stack them up on end like books, and they'll take up less space if that's what works for your freezer. So remember, this is not cooked. It did get warm a little bit with that brine we put in. So when you're ready to use it, you would use it just like you would a can of corn or frozen corn that you would buy at the grocery store. Thaw it in your refrigerator overnight, or pull it out of the freezer first thing in the morning if you want to use it that evening. You can just dump this whole thing into a microwave safe container and heat it up in the microwave. You can put the whole thing in a saucepan and heat it up on the stove. I love it in my crock pot. If you're cooking with a recipe that calls for frozen corn, or that calls for a can of corn to be drained, then you do want to drain the brine out of this once it's thawed. But that's pretty easy to do just over a sink in a colander. So that's it, piece of cake. Frozen corn in, what, less than 15 minutes? I love it. So if you guys have any questions, leave them for me below and I'll answer. Otherwise, I will see you here next week, Friday, 12 noon, 11 Central. If you have an idea, something you want to learn more about, something you want to hear me talk about, or a kitchen gadget you want me to demo for you, just leave me a comment down below. Thanks, I'll see you soon.